The Gold Coast and Slave Coast in Special English by Hannah and Maya.
Once upon a time in the 1500s, in a land far, far away we call Europe, there lived people called Europeans.
These people, called Europeans, were very interested in trade, but decided that they could expand their trade to unknown lands.
So one day they hopped in their ships and sailed to the unknown, otherwise known as Africa.
When they reached Africa, the Europeans found many new and exciting items such as gold, ivory, and timber. They could bring these items back to Europe and sell them for a large profit, so they decided to trade what they had on their ships for these items. Surprisingly, the Europeans didn't want to take over Africa, but wanted to work with it instead.
The Africans were also very interested in trading with the Europeans because these foreigners had items that they needed as well, such as guns and gunpowder.
Soon after, the Africans and Europeans established trading centers among the coast of Africa, so the Europeans could sail down at any time and trade with the natives for what they needed.
These trading spots were later called the Gold Coast and the Slave Coast. Slaves soon became one of the most valuable exports.
As the years went by, the African merchants became more and more demanding on what items they received from the Europeans.
So the Europeans put together a book that carefully noted what every African trading coast demanded, such as pattern of textiles, type of guns, and different metals.
Too bad for the Europeans, the African government controlled the Gold Coast and the Slave Coast so that the Europeans wouldn't steal or rip them off, which forced them to respect African culture. Also around this time, if you were on the Slave Coast, you were forced to pay the king taxes if you were buying slaves.
In the 1700s, the Europeans finally noticed that because they were trading all these guns and gunpowder, the African military was growing and becoming stronger.
Trading gave Africa a name and established it as a great power in the world.
And they lived happily ever after.
Kind of. The end.